Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of real numbers. Before watching this video, I would suggest you to go through part 1 of real numbers. The link to that video is provided in the description box. In the first part of this chapter, we had learned about Euclid's division algorithm. In this video, we will be learning about the fundamental theorem of arithmetic along with its few applications such as calculating the LCM and HCF of numbers. After that, we'll see how we can prove the irrationality of under root of prime numbers, and at the last we will have a look at the decimal expansions of rational numbers. Starting with fundamental theorem of arithmetic, it states that every composite number can be expressed as a product of prime numbers, and this factorization is unique apart from the order in which the prime factor occurs. I will try to simplify the theorem. It is saying that any composite number can be factorized into its prime numbers, and this factorization is unique. If I take example of a composite number 6, it can be factorized into prime numbers 2 and 3, and this factorization is going to remain unique. There is no other combination of prime factors which can result into a product of 6. The last part is that the order in which the prime factor occurs is irrelevant. Now, taking an example of 15, it can be factorized into prime numbers 3 and 5. So 3 and 5 is same as 5 into 3. So it can be factorized into prime numbers 3 and 5. This factorization is unique, and the order in which they appear doesn't matter. In general, any composite number x can be factorized as p1, p2, pn, where all these p's, which is p1, p2, pn, these are prime numbers. Now that you have understood fundamental theorem of arithmetic, let us take a look at some of its application. We'll take some examples. This example says check whether 6 to the power n can end with the digit 0 for any natural number n. So as per the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, 6 to the power n can be expressed as a product of its prime. That is, 6 can be written as 2 into 3, and 6 to the power n can be expressed as 2 multiplied by 3 to the power n. We know that for any number to end with 0, it should be divisible by 10. The numbers which are divisible by 10 or which end with 0 are 10, 20, 30, 40, and we know that all these numbers are divisible by 10. And in case if any number is divisible by 10, it should be divisible by its prime factors 2 and 5. Since the only prime factors of 6 to the power are 2 and 3, therefore 6 to the power n is not divisible by 5. Therefore, there is no natural number n for which 6 to the power n can end with 0. One of the important application of FTA, or fundamental theorem of arithmetic, is to calculate LCM and HCF. Let us take a look at an example. Find LCM and HCF of 15 and 50, which is 50, by the prime factorization method. Prime factorization method is nothing but the application of fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So as per FTA, a composite number can be written as the unique product of its prime numbers. So we can write 15 as the product of its prime 3 and 5, and we can write 50 as the product of 2 into 5 to the power 2. Now we'll see what is HCF. HCF is nothing but the product of smallest power of each common prime factors. So if we see 15 and 50, the common prime factors in both of these numbers is only 5. So HCF of 15 and 50, 50 is 5. Now looking at least common multiple, it is the product of greatest power of each prime factor appearing in both the numbers. So what we'll have to do in order to calculate LCM is to take each and every prime number which is involved in both of the given numbers and take the maximum power which is appearing in either of the numbers. So we'll start with prime number 3. So we can see that it is only appearing in 15. So we'll take 3 to the power 1. Then looking at 5, 5 is appearing in 50 as 5 to the power 2. So we'll take 5 to the power 2. Now coming on to 50, we have already covered 5. The only remaining prime number is 2. So we'll take 2. As 2 is not appearing in 50, we'll take 2 to the power 1. So the LCM of 15 and 50 would be 2 into 3 into 25, which is 150. Please note that from the above example we can see that LCM of two numbers multiplied by HCF of those two numbers is equal to the product of those two numbers. We have seen that LCM of these two numbers is 150 and HCF is 5. So 150 into 5 will result into 750, and the product of 15 and 50 would also result into 750. So from this example we can conclude an important formula which can be applied to only two integers. Please note that this formula can be only applied to two integers. It is not applicable on three integers. So this formula states that HCF, or highest common factor of two numbers multiplied by least common multiple of those two numbers, is equal to the product of those two numbers. The last application of fundamental theorem of arithmetic is another theorem which will be useful in proving the irrationality of under root of prime numbers. This theorem states that if a prime number p divides a square, then p divides a also, where a is a positive integer. Let us take a look at the proof of this theorem. Please note that the proof of this theorem is not asked in 10th board examination, but we'll try to understand the proof because it will clarify our concepts and will help to memorize us the theorem also. We will assume that p1, p2, p3 up to pn are all the possible prime factors of a. Therefore, a can be expressed as the product of all these p's. Now if we square both sides of this equation, we will get a square is equal to p1 square into p2 square into p3 square up to pn square. In the theorem itself, it is given that p divides a square. Since p is dividing, or p divides a square, therefore p is one of the prime factors of a square. But we know that the only prime factors of a square are p1, p2, p3 up to pn, and this is evident from equation number 1. From this equation we can see that p1, p2, p3 up to pn, these are the only possible prime factors of a square. Therefore, p is one of the prime numbers p1, p2, p3, pn. Since p is one of the prime factors of a square, therefore p has to be one of these prime numbers only. Therefore p is one of the factors of a because p1, p2, p3 up to pn are the factors of a, and p is one of these numbers, prime numbers p1, p2, p3 up to pn. Therefore p is one of the factor of a, and hence a is also divisible by p. From our previous classes, we know that any number which cannot be written in the form of p by q, where p and q are integers and q is not equal to 0, is an irrational number. Some of the examples of irrational numbers are under root 2 and pi. In general, under root p, where p is a prime number, is irrational. We will look at proof of an important theorem which appears almost every year in the board examination. Here we are trying to prove that under root p, where p is a prime number, or under root of any prime number, is irrational. As an example, we have taken a proof that under root 5 is irrational. We will approach this by proof of contradiction. Proof of contradiction establishes validity of a proposition by showing that assuming that proposition as false results into a contradiction. What I'm trying to say is that we will assume something and then we will arrive at a situation which will contradict our assumption. Let us have a look at the proof. Under root 5 can be written in the form of p by q. If we have assumed that under root 5 is rational, we can write it in the form of p by q. Again, let us assume that there is a common factor in both p and q, and if we divide both p and q by its common factor, we can get under root 5 is equal to a upon b, where both a and b are co-prime. Co-prime numbers are those numbers which don't have any common factor among them. For example, 4 and 9. Even though both 4 and 9 are not prime numbers, but 4 can be represented as 2 and 2 into 2, and 9 can be represented as 3 into 3. So since they are not having any common factor, they are known as co-prime numbers. Now coming back to our theorem, under root 5 is equal to a divided by b can be rearranged as b under root 5 is equal to a. Squaring both sides of that equation, we will get 5b square is equal to a square. Now this equation shows that a square is divisible by 5, because a square is represented as 5 multiplied by b square, so 5 is a factor of a square and hence a square is divisible by 5. And we have seen in our previous theorem that if a square is divisible by 5, then a is also divisible by 5. Since a is divisible by 5, we can express a as a product of 5 and another number. We will assume that number be c. Now replacing a is equal to 5c in equation number 1, we will get 5b square is equal to 25c square, which can be rearranged as b square is equal to 5c square. So we will divide 25c square by 5 and we will get b square is equal to 5c square. Again, b square is equal to 5c square means that b square is divisible by 5 and hence b is also divisible by 5. Now from equation 2 and 3, you can see that both a and b are divisible by 5, but this is contradiction to the fact that a and b have no common factors, because we have seen that these were co-prime numbers. This contradiction has arisen because of our incorrect assumption that under root 5 is rational. Hence, we have proved that under root 5 is irrational. The last topic is rational numbers and their decimal expansions. In this topic, we will try to see that rational numbers will be having either terminating decimal expansion or non-terminating and recurring decimal expansion. We'll look at these things by way of few theorems. Let us start with this theorem. This theorem states that if x is a rational number whose decimal expansion terminates, then x can be expressed in the form of p by q, where p and q are co-prime and the prime factorization of q, that is the denominator, is of the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, where n and m are non-negative integers. So this theorem is trying to say that if I have a decimal expansion which is terminating, then I can represent that decimal expansion in the form of p by q, where both p and q are co-prime and the prime factorization of its denominator is of the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m. Let us take a look at a couple of examples. 0.375, it can be represented as 375 divided by 10 cube. 375 can be factorized as 3 multiplied by 5 cube, and 10 cube can be written as 2 cube multiplied by 5 cube. by striking off the common factors, we will get 3 divided by 2 cube. Similarly, we can see that 0.104 can be expressed in the form of 13 divided by 5 cube. From both these examples, we can observe that the denominator will be having either power of 2 or power of 5 or both. That is why we can say that if x is a rational number whose decimal expansion terminates, it can be expressed in the form of p by q, where q is of the form of 2 to the power n and 5 to the power m. Let us take a look at the next theorem. It is exact opposite to the first theorem we have just seen. It states that if x is p by q such that prime factorization of q is the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, here it is given that x is p by q and q is of the form of 2 to the power 5 to the power m, then x has a decimal expansion which terminates. The earlier theorem was stating that if we take a decimal expansion, it can be expressed in the form of p by q, where q can be written in the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m. And here this theorem is saying that if x is already p divided by q, where q is the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, then the decimal expansion of x will terminate. Let us take a look at a couple of examples. We will take the same examples we have taken in the previous theorem. 3 by 8. Here we can observe that denominator is only having power of 2. So if we divide 3 by 8, we will be arriving at a decimal expansion 0.375. Similarly, if we divide 13 by 125, we'll get 0.104, which is a terminating decimal expansion. This is the last theorem of this topic, and it states that if x is of the form of p by q and the prime factor of q is not, please focus here that the prime factorization of q is not of the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, then the decimal expansion of such a number is non-terminating and repeating. We'll take a look at a few examples. If 1 is divided by 3, it will result into 0.33333 and it will go on and on without terminating. Similar example is 1 by 7. You can divide 1 by 7 and you will get 0.14287 and it will go on repeating again and again. From all these three theorems, we have seen that rational numbers will be having either terminating decimal expansion or non-terminating and recurring decimal expansion. Wherever q or the denominator is of the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, you will be getting a terminating decimal expansion, and wherever denominator is not of the form of 2 to the power n multiplied by 5 to the power m, you will be getting a non-terminating and recurring decimal expansion. In this video, which was second part of real numbers, we have seen what is the fundamental theorem of arithmetic, and we have taken a look at few of its examples and applications. After that, we have proved the irrationality of under root of prime numbers, and at last we have seen the decimal expansion of rational numbers. Hope this video was helpful. Please share your feedback and comments in the comment section and subscribe to my channel Mathmaraj by Naveen.